back to the channel of Pro Ends of Vids, and this is my round 24 NRL tips 2022. So, second last weekend of the regular season, so, you know, finals are obviously very close now, and yeah, it's exciting obviously because everyone loves finals and who doesn't, and yeah, there's some crucial games this weekend, especially for the teams that are still competing for the 8. Well, the only team competing for the 8 is Canberra, and they take on my boys Manly, so interesting to see the result of that one. Then you got some alright games, like a good one on Thursday's Broncos and Parramatta. That can definitely defy who maybe gets a home final, possibly. Well, Roosters Storm at Amy Park on Friday will be so big as well. That's going to be a really big game, I reckon. That's a tough one to go and tip with. And got Cowboys and Souths as well on the Saturday, which is at a core stadium. So there's a lot of 50-50 games, and I think you'll be very lucky to get a full round correct this weekend. So looking at some of the matches, good luck to those people who you know, are tipping for this round, because it's going to be a very difficult round to tip, I reckon, looking at some of the games. But yeah, before I start, just want to say that I'm currently about 20 subscribers away from the goal of 2,250 subscribers. Currently on 2,234, so, or 35, I think it was. I checked today. So yeah, that's the goal, obviously, for my channel, to get to 2,250 subscribers by hopefully at the end of the week or early next week. Because yeah, you know, obviously, if you're enjoying the content and enjoying the channel and what videos I put out for you guys to watch, then yeah, look, that's the main thing. And I hope that even you watching right now, you can consider subscribing, because yeah, obviously I love doing videos for you guys, and yeah, that's all that matters in the end, that the fans are happy. But yeah, without further ado, time to get into my round 24 tips. So the first game is Broncos take on Parra at Suncorp. Yeah, all right, on to the first game, Broncos and the Eels at Suncorp Stadium. A game where I think it's going to be very tight and very close. Obviously, last weekend, Broncos were very disappointing. Got absolutely thrashed at home by Melbourne. And yeah, it's not good, because that loss, or that heavy defeat, you know, I think that really puts the Broncos' top 8 hopes at risk. So, but it can change this weekend if they win, because if they win, they're pretty much locked in. No worries. But yeah, obviously, they'd like to bounce back at home, and you know, it's hard to see Broncos lose 3 straight games at home, but we'll see what happens. And as for Parramatta, well, they blew the Dogs off the park last Saturday, winning 42 points to 6 at Combank Stadium. So I'm sure they're going to carry a lot of confidence out of that one after being their rivals by that much. But yeah, looking at the teams, so starting with the home side, obviously, the Broncos have Kurt Capewell has been named to play despite hurting his ankle against the Storm last week. Centre Brenko Lee is back on deck after recovering from a hamstring injury, so D. Louise Weitzer goes to 18th man. And no changes for Parramatta, but Mackenzie Makatoa and Jake Arthur have both been added to the bench in place of Bryce Cartwright and Offiki Ogden. So yeah, only changes there for both sides. Who am I going to go with? I'm going to tip the Broncos at home. I think Brisbane will get the win here. I know, look, I know Broncos aren't playing great at the moment, but I think because it's at Suncorp and it's a game where they need a win in order to cement their spot in the 8, I think that the expectation will be high, and I think guys like Reynolds will stand up after a big loss last week. I think Cobber's going to have a big game, Haas, you know, I think all of them will stand up. So I'm going to go Broncos 1-12. And my first try scorer, I'm going to go a little bit different, because I keep tipping centers or wingers every time for first try scorer, even though it happens. But I'm actually going to tip Kurt Capewell if he plays. Now, I don't know if he's going to play. I'll change it if he doesn't play. But I'm going to go Kurt Capewell for the first try, I reckon. And my anytime try scorer is going to be Brenko Lee, Cobbo, and Corey Oates. And for a Parramatta, I think anytime will be Sivo, Papali'i, and Blake. Okay, on to the next game now. This is one that I think you might need to buy some coffins for this one, just so there's a bit of respect, I suppose. Well, there's going to be no respect here, because I think Penrith are going to win this one easy, but I'll go through the teams anyway. So, well, look, I'll start with what happened last week for both sides. So, Penrith obviously had a good win and beat South in a tight one on Thursday, winning 26 points to 22. And, yeah, it was a win that was needed, and that pretty much cements their minor premiership position for 2022. So, they'll be actually presented with the J.J. Giltman Shield after the game's finished between Panthers and Warriors. So, yeah, that'll be good for them. And as for the Warriors, well, they got thumped, unfortunately, they got thumped last week. And, yeah, it's not a surprise, because obviously they're in bad form. And, yeah, Warriors are just, I don't know. And there was the Cowboys got thrashed by. I went a little bit blank there. Apologies for that. But yeah, I got thrashed by Cowboys, 48 points to 4 last week. So yeah, not good for Warriors. But anyway, I'm going to go through both sides. So for the Panthers, 5'8" Jerome Luai returns this week. That's a big in for the Panthers. So Luai the 5'8", and James Salmon drops out of the squad. James Fisher-Harris is back from suspension, so Matt Eisenhuth moves to the bench, and Jermaine Hopgood to reserves, and Scott Sorensen remains silent with a calf issue. As for the Warriors, Chanel Harris-Tavares takes over at 5'8" for Dajon Assi, which is a bit weird, and Josh Curran moves to the second row in place of Jack Murchie. The new man on the bench is Dynamis Louis, and Ben Mertwasila is listed among the reserves as he needs a return from an elbow injury. So they're the changes for both sides and teams. Who am I tipping? Well, who else am I going to tip? Penrith by probably 30 points, 13 plus. And my first try scorer is going to be probably... I'm going to go with Taylor May for first try scorer. And my anytime try scorer is going to be Brian To'o, Isaac Tago, and Liam Martin. And as for the Warriors, well, I don't know who will score for them. They'll be lucky to score a try. But I'll be nice, and I'm going to go with Edward Coasey for a try. I think Edward Coasey's been in good form for the Warriors in terms of scoring tries. So I'll go with Coasey for a try for Warriors. Okay, now we move on to an absolute blockbuster on the Friday, and it's the main game. It is the Storm taking on the Roosters at Amy Park at 7:55 p.m. So, oh wow, it's going to be big. This is a very big one. Fantastic games to close out the Friday fixtures. And yeah, this is going to be very tough to pick. Look at last week's form for the Storm. First of all, the Storm got a good win, and it was a massive win over the Broncos, winning 60 points to 12. So, yeah, look, massive result for the Storm. It's a win they probably needed, and that win indicates that they're back and they're going to look pretty threatening come finals time, in my opinion. So, good win for the Storm there, and they'll back that confidence up into this game. I'm sure about it. And as for the Roosters, well, they had an even bigger win over the Tigers, winning 72 points to 6 at SCG, and yeah, look, that's a very big result for them too. That's 70 points by both. You know what's funny? Both sides scored 70 points this year, and we haven't seen 70 points scored for the first time until Melbourne did back since 2007 or something like that. So, yeah, that's unbelievable. But going through both sides now, for the Storm, Felice Kafusi returns to the back row after, I guess, the deputy's father, so he's back this week. So, Tui Kamakamika shifts to the bench. Winger Xavier Coates was monitored after suffering a head knock against the Broncos. And Marion Seve is listed among the reserves as he works his way back from a hamstring injury, while utility Tyron Wishart won't play until finals due to an ankle injury. And as for the Broncos, for the Roosters, experienced forwards Lindsay Collins and Siosiwa Takaaho make their returns via the bench from injuries. And Terrell May and Oliver Gilder are the men to make way. And Paul Momorowski's back in the centres this week after missing the Tigers game last week. So Drew Hutchinson goes to 18th man. Right, my tip for this game, tough one, but I'm going to tip the Storm being back in Melbourne. I think that the Storm will want to try and play well at home. And look, it's tough because I think Roosters can definitely win this one as well. But I'll back the Storm at home, and I'll go Storm 1-12. And not just 1-12, but it'll be like a goal point, I reckon. So I reckon Storm and Roosters will be goal point. And Jerome Hughes to keep winning field goal. You heard it here first. Goal point, Jerome Hughes field goal in the Storm will win. I am guaranteeing it to happen if it was to go down the goal point. My first try scorer, although, will be Xavier Coates. And anytime try scorers, Nofaluma, Hughes as well, and Harry Grant. And as for the Roosters, I'm going to go with Sawali and Joseph Manu and Morowski in his return. And on to the Super Saturday game now. So, obviously, I have 3 games this week on Saturday. Yeah, it's the first one, Raiders and Manly at GIO Stadium in Canberra. So, Manly's first time playing at GIO since 2019. And yeah, this will be another tough game to pick, actually. I know that Manly have been in bad form, but I think this is a winnable game for them. That's what I personally reckon. I think it's a winnable game, but again, I can't underestimate Canberra because they're playing for a lot at the moment. They're playing for a top 8 spot, and it's very important for them to win every game leading to the final cut for the 8. Last week, Raiders beat the Knights on Sunday, 28 points to 22. Nearly actually bombed that game, but luckily they came away with the win in the end. And as for Manly, got smashed against the Sharks. Obviously, knows that bloody game, unfortunately. But yeah, going through both sides now. The Raiders have named the same 17, so no changes there for the Raiders. And as for Manly, now this is very exciting actually as a Manly fan. I'm pretty happy about this. I'm looking forward to this Saturday's game for one reason only, and that's because Ray Vega, who was a star in our trial matches earlier in the year against the Tigers, who got a hat-trick, the winger. Yeah, Ray Vega making his NRL debut, so I'm very happy for him, and hopefully he has a good game. And he's Alfred Small is the man to make way for him as well on the wing, and Andrew Davey returns as well in the back row. Ethan Bullimore drops to 18th man, while Taufafawa Sipley is named to start with Martin Tapau on the bench. So they're all the changes there. Who am I going to go with? This is tough. This was tough to pick, but I'm going to tip Raiders because they have a lot to play for, and I think that Canberra, obviously want to probably win a game, or keep winning, to be honest, to make the 8. I wouldn't be surprised if they choke this one. I do have a feeling Manly will turn up, but I think Canberra will be a bit too good. So I'm going to take the Raiders here 1-12, and my first try scorer will be through Manly though, and it will be through the debutant in my opinion, Ray Vega, will get the first try. So that's a bold call by me, going Ray Vega for first try, but I can see him scoring one at least. And my anytime try scorer is going to be Matt Timko, Nick Kotrick, and Jack White. And as for Manly, I'm going to go with Tui Pilotu and Andrew Davies all in return. On to the next game of Super Saturday. It is the Sharks taking the Bulldogs at PointsBet Stadium there in Cronulla. So 5:30 p.m. A game where it's pretty much one-sided, but it can be competitive at some point, I think, as well, in my opinion. So yeah, Sharks versus the Bulldogs. Last week for the Sharks obviously beat my boys Manly 40 points to 6, and it was not a nice thing to witness, but obviously if you're a Sharks fan, you would have thought it was great. So and Sharks are just continuing to play pretty well, and they're just showing why they will be a threat in finals time, I think. So Sharks are on a bit of a roll. As for the Bulldogs, the Dogs have been smashed by 42 weeks in a row now. They were playing so good before, but now they come crashing down for some reason. So had a big loss to their arch rivals, Para, on Saturday, losing 42 points to 6 at CommBank. So, that was not good. But getting through both sides, the Sharks have Siosiua Talakai returning from a shoulder injury in the centres, so that's a big in for them. And that means Connor Tracy's out after suffering his second concussion of the season against Manly. So, also, Teague Wilton returns onto the bench after missing round 23 due to an illness. So, Brayden Trindle goes to 18th man, and grand final hero Andrew Fafita will play his last home game for the Sharks. So, very interesting to see that this will be Andrew Fafita's last home game for the Sharks. And as for the Bulldogs, after getting through 36 minutes in his comeback match, prop Luke Thompson returns to the starting side at lock. Josh Jackson moves from lock to the second row, and Tavia Pangai Jr. is out, and Chris Patola is the new man on the bench. So that's the teams there. Look, my tip for this game, pretty easy. Going to go with the Sharks here, 13+. I think they'll be way too good for the Bulldogs. And I'm going to go for first try scorer, Jesse Ramian. And my anytime try scorers are going to be Lachlan Miller, Matt Ikuvalu, Ronaldo Mulatalo with a guarantee Sui, and I think also maybe Brinda Cora. And for the Bulldogs, I'm going to go with Jacob Carraz, and going to go with Adokar as well. And on to the final game of Super Saturday. It is a big one. It is the Rabbitohs taking on the Cowboys at 7:35 p.m. at Accor Stadium. So another blockbuster game that can really determine so much as well. Like if Seahawks win, then they could really push themselves for a home final. If Cowboys win, then they can even push themselves for a home final as well. They win. So it's very interesting. Very interesting contest, but a very good one as well. Last week, Souths obviously fell short to the Panthers, losing 26 points to 22. Could have won that, and it could have gone either way, but Penrith were just a bit too good. So I think Souths will be determined to bounce back this weekend and I guess have a point to prove. And as for the Cowboys, they pretty much thumped the Warriors up in Townsville, winning 48 points to 4. So yeah, they were just too good. But look, getting through both sides, the Rabbitohs have made some changes with Jackson Pula, who had an unfortunate shocker against Penrith. He's been dropped, so that means Isaac Thompson's back on the wing, and Thomas Burgess returns from a 3-game having 3 games out with a groin injury. So Hame Seli removes into the starting side, and Daniel Sluka Fafita drops out. Cody Nikorima also returns from a hamstring injury on the bench, and so Tane Milne goes to reserves. And as for Cowboys, well, Scott Drinkwater moves to 5'8" to replace Tom Dearden. So Tom did unfortunately rupture his testicle. I shouldn't be laughing, but yeah, that's obviously gonna be so painful. But yeah, he's out, and Drinkwater moves from fullback to 5'8", and Hamiso goes to fullback, and Tom Gilbert joins the bench. Yeah, no, this is tough to pick because I think this can go either way, and yeah, it's tough. But I'm actually going to go and tip the Cowboys here. I think the Cowboys will be a bit too strong, but I'm not going to underestimate CFC either. But I think Cowboys, just for me, are a better sort of side, and I think they will be a bit too good for the Rabbitohs on Saturday night. So I'm going to go Cowboys 1-12, and my first try scorer will be through Souths though, and it will be through Campbell Graham. And my anytime try scorers are going to be for the Rabbitohs, like Sean Mitchell, Alex Johnston for anytime try scorers. And as for the Cowboys, I'm going to go with the Hammer, I'm going to go Murray Talangi, and I'm also going to go with Jeremiah Nanai in the back row. Alright, moving on to the Sunday game now. So actually Sunday fixtures. So obviously the 2 games on the Sunday. So the games I'm not really too keen on, but hopefully they have some sort of meaning towards it in terms of the game quality. But yeah, the first one is the Tigers taking the Dragons at Combank Stadium at 2 p.m. So a game where it doesn't really mean much on both sides, but I suppose that you want to try and end the season on a good note. So that's probably the aim for both sides. Yeah, look, last week Tigers, well, where do you start with Tigers? They got absolutely pumped by the Roosters at the SCG, losing 72 points to 6. And yeah, I don't know how Tigers can really turn around from a loss like that. And as for the Dragons, well, the Dragons were, they were very good. Or, like, they weren't very good, but they were just good enough to get the win. They could have easily lost that game to the Titans, but I guess just because they had that, that finishing touch, that was just a bit better than what the Titans offered. So, but anyway, good win for the Dragons at Wynn Stadium. But going through both sides, Luke Garner, head knock, and Kemamalo groin, James Tamalolo. Oh my God, what the hell? It's James Tama, not James Tamalolo. Thought I read that wrong myself for a second, but just an edit there. But yeah, James Tamo, Alex Seyfarth, shoulder are all out this week. So Junior Pauga comes on the wing, while Tom Freeburn will start in the second row. Joe Offahangawi moves from lock to prop. For Armando Brown goes to lock, and Jake Simpkin is a new hooker. Jacob Little and debutant Kitoni Kautoga are the new faces on the bench. So another debutant video there. And playmaker Luke Brooks remains sidelined with a calf injury. And as for the Dragons, Jack Bird moves from lock to centre and to replace the suspended Moses Mbai. So Jack DeBellin goes to 13, and Aaron Woods comes into the starting prop position. Francis Moller suspended and Andrew McCulloch knee are both out. So James Sullivan comes into the starting side hooker after an impressive showing off the bench against the Titans. Tyrell Sloan, Tyrell Fuimaano, Jayden Hunt, Jackson Ford, and Tyrell Sloan make up the new look interchange. Okay, my tip for this game. Going to tip the Dragons here. I think Dragons just will be, for me, a bit too strong, and I think they are a bit more trustworthy to tip other than Tigers. So I'll go Dragons 1-12, and my first try score is going to be Tartan Moga on the wing, and my anytime try scorers are going to be Asu Kipawa, Safatoa, and Dane Laurie for the Tigers. And as for the Dragons, I've got Matt Feagai, Ramsey, and Sua in the back row. And on to the final game of the weekend. It is the Titans taking on the Knights at Seabar Super Stadium in the Gold Coast at 4:05 p.m. Why does this have to be the main game? It's going to be so boring. It's going to be an absolute snooze fest, and I don't want to watch it. But yeah, got to, because there's a debutant playing for the Titans. But other than that, what's the meaning with this game? There's no meaning. But going through what happened last week for the Titans, they could have won the game against Dragons on Sunday at Wynn Stadium, but lost 40 points to 46-26. And yeah, no, they had that game, but they obviously couldn't be a Dragons side of 12 minutes for the rest of the game, which says a lot about the Titans as a club. As for the Knights were very close to beating the Raiders as well, and they had that game, but unfortunately they lost it in the second half and just sort of choked it in the end. So disappointing for both sides to choke games they should have won. But yeah, look, we'll see who comes away with the win this weekend. But looking at both sides, Philip Sammy has been named and will go through concussion protocols after he failed his HIA against the Dragons. Patrick Herbert knee is out, replaced in the centres by Brian Kelly, and who returns from his own knee injury. Jamin Jolliffe has been promoted to the starting side at prop, and Klesi Haas will join the bench for his NRL debut, which is Payne Haas' brother, actually. And Jarrah Wallace goes to reserves. As for the Knights, Tyson Frizzell, Ribs, and Daniel Saifiti COVID-19 protocols are both back on deck this weekend. So Matt Croker and Jacob Saifiti revert to the bench. Anari Tuala is listed among the reserves after he played New South Wales Cup last weekend, but Braden Best is out with a hamstring injury that forced him to miss the match. Back rower Mitch Barnett remains silent with a thumb injury. Very interesting. It's going to be tough to know who'll win this game because it can go either way, but I will tip the Titans at home. I think Titans will get the win here because it's at CY Super Stadium and they've been playing okay recently. So I'll tip the Titans here 1-12. And my first try scorer is going to be Jojo Fafita on the wing. And my anytime try scorers are going to be AJ Brimson, Greg Marzu, and Tino at prop. And as for the Knights, I'm going to go with Edric Lee, Dane Gagai, and Christian Mapapalangi for his first try. But anyways, everyone, thanks for watching the video. This is my round 24 NRL tips of 2022. If you enjoyed, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment your tips in the comment section down below. But until then, see you next Tuesday for round 25 tips.